Wow, man. Take a look at this. So today I'm reviewing my buddy Sam Hohenshell's debut novel, Forbidden Anesthesia. And I thought it would be nice to go to a rock that I like to sit on in the woods. We had this massive storm the other night, and these huge chokecherry trees fell down and completely buried the trail and the rock. Yep, so under this mess, under that huge pile of brush and trunks and smashed branches, is the rock I like to sit on. And if you come over here, you can see just the size of this ancient tree that fell down. That was a big one. And as we make our way in further, I think it's sad, first of all, that this big old beautiful tree fell down. But what's especially tough is you've got these younger trees that had a lot of life left in them. Hopefully they'll be okay. But they are really bowed over because this huge old tree fell on them. And now they're crushed under that weight. And then there's other young trees in there that had their tops smashed off. Young trees, long life to go, crushed under the weight of an event. Forbidden Anesthesia is about a young man named Charlie who lives in the distant future in a world that is a lot like our own, but even more alienated and more based on status. So there's some distant wars going on Mars, and also people go to nearby space, and when they do, they're exposed to this chemical that turns their skin blue. So basically, if you have blue skin, it means you've been out in space on these luxury cruises, and that's like a status symbol. So this company develops this drug called Synth B, make waves is their motto, and this drug can artificially turn the skin blue. And the more you take it, the more your skin becomes blue. But it takes a while to work, and there's also a lot of side effects. Lethargy, irritability, and this young man named Charlie has a lot going for him. He's got an entry-level career as a data entry person, managing supplies shipped around the Midwest, and he's got a really good friend named Emily, and he plays a sport called rainball with her all the time, which is kind of like randomized basketball. And he's really good at rainball. He played in college and did really well at that. And he's also on the dating scene. So he's a handsome young man, and he goes out. He's had a couple women interested in them, but he's never been quite as into them. What's going on for Charlie, though, is he psychs himself out. He thinks that he's not handsome enough to ever get a date. He thinks that his entry-level career isn't worth much, and that he should be in New York City instead of Chicago. He thinks that because he's not a professional rainball player, that he sucks at rainball and he's past his league. And even though he has a lot going for him, he psychs himself out and thinks he's not good enough. He's not good enough. His life, will never really amount to anything. He could have done more. He could have done more. And as a result of that, Charlie gets depressed. Now, it's not all on him. One of the things that I think Sam does really well in his book is he really captures alienation from others, alienation from self, and this society that's totally based on status and superficiality. So, for example, when Charlie goes into work, he doesn't just sit down at a real desk and a real computer. he goes into like this circular pod and is surrounded by these holographic images of computer screens and buttons, and presses these imaginary buttons around him all day long as he rotates. When he goes out on dates, the way that works is dating participants sit in these pods, and the pods like rotate and shift around each other to link up, and then these walls come down. You've got 5 minutes to talk to your partner to see if they're a match or not, and then the pods continue to shift. Eventually, Charlie comes to decide that the main thing that determines a person's worth is not just their job and all of this kind of superficial stuff that society is telling him is the most important, it's also his skin tone. So his boss comes back from a luxury vacation in space and he's got a nice blue tone, and Shirley's like, oh man, I wish I could look like that, that's so cool. And he begins to judge himself and others based just on that parameters. So for example, he's out on a date and he meets this woman who is stunningly beautiful, has a lot of his interests, and is a great match, but she's not taking Synth B, and she's not blue enough for him. And so he's kind of a dick. He just basically swipes left on her in this pod right away and says not interested without even bothering to talk to her, just because she's not taking Synth B and her skin is pale. So what did I like about this book? Well, like I mentioned already, this book really captures the vibes of a society that's all on status and superficial markers of status. It really captures a young man's experience just starting out in the world, trying to do the things that young men do, get a career, get a partner, and those things really being undercut by mental health issues and drug addiction. And I particularly liked how Sam described the slippery slope of depression, where he's got all these good things going for him, but he thinks that they're not good. He thinks they're not good enough, and then as a result of that, he makes decisions that really do screw up his life. So as he takes Synth B, he's lethargic at work, he's not meeting his goals, and he starts getting in trouble with his boss. He doesn't have enough energy to play rainball anymore. And then, because of those decisions that he makes that are screwing up his life, now he's got, more evidence that his life is a waste, and he becomes even more depressed, and so it's like this death spiral that I think Sam captured really well. And that's because Sam shared in his intro video to this book that this was him trying to express and process his experiences as a young man dealing with mental illness. And I can really see the humanity in this book. I loved it for that. No, I think, Sam is my buddy. He and I correspond by email. He gives me suggestions for my book, and I encouraged him to keep going on his. And I do want to say that there are a couple things on the book that I think could use some work. And I say this in a spirit of trying to help instead of dump on the book. There was a lot of showing in the book. So for example, Charlie would be in his apartment, just kind of living off microwave crumbs, not answering the phone, just laying around in his own stink in his underwear. And that really showed, yes, Charlie's depressed. I think what didn't work as well, though, is about half of the book is also telling. Just telling you at the start of the book, hey, Charlie's depressed. But the thing is, telling a person something isn't as strong as showing in literature. And also what's tricky about that is, when you tell somebody something about a character of the world, the character's actions can conflict. So at the start of the book, when we're told, hey, Charlie's already depressed, he's playing rainball, he's going to work, he's socializing with his friend, he's going on dates. And none of those really indicate to me that he's depressed. Also a number of lore dumps, particularly at the beginning. This kind of war that's going on just kind of felt like we're told, hey, society's at war, but it never really felt that to me. It just felt kind of like an ancillary lore dump. And the other thing I think that would really have strengthened this book a lot was it's written in third person past tense, I think it would have been much stronger if it had been written in first person past tense or first person present tense, because then we would have really been in Charlie's perspective, really been in his blue skin, and have seen through his eyes just how depressed he is, just how hopeless he is, just how he feels like he's not good enough. And because it was written in third person past tense, it added an extra level of distance between the reader and Charlie's experience. And after a while of reading, Charlie felt this, Charlie thought that, it started to feel a little detached, almost like I was reading clinical notes in some kind of a mental health setting. Probably the biggest thing I'd like to see worked on for Sam's next book was the ending. So basically, I don't want to spoil it, but the ending for me really had tonal whiplash, where most of the book it kind of felt like a honest, straightforward young adult science fiction book, but at the end it has this sudden tonal whiplash of this surgical body horror that really comes out of nowhere. And there's also this twist surprise where there's something that I thought at least was going to be a good thing for Charlie, turned out to be a horrible thing. And the book never really concluded with him making movement towards being more authentic, learning to see himself as he is and love who he is, learning to interact with the world in a way that isn't just based on whether or not someone's blue or not, but getting to know and love and accept people at all. It doesn't really kind of have any resolution or character growth. It's just kind of like, well, life sucks, the end, maybe he'll straighten himself out, and that didn't really work for me. And I think you can have books that have downer endings, and you can have books that have surprise twists, even negative ones. But I think if an author is going to do that in their book, they've got to let the reader know at the start, hey, listen, you need to be thinking for yourself and you need to watch out because we're playing a game here, and I want you to know that. So, for example, if you read some Gene Wolfe all through is just giving you these weird bits of information and expects the reader to make sense of it and to be thinking for themselves about what the book is about. And so if there's a weird, wacky twist in a Gene Wolfe book, you're like, well, yeah, because that's the kind of book this is, and I know we're kind of playing a game here where I'm trying to figure things out. I think because of all of the telling people and some of the lore dumps at the beginning, the book kind of sets up an expectation of like, hey, this is a straightforward book, here's the information, and as the author, I'm going to hold your hand as reader and let you know what's going on. And then all of a sudden, they're kind of like, psych, gotcha, and they like, shank you with this surprise ending that really felt like it came out of nowhere. So I think maybe if Sam wants to do like twist endings like that, have the reader know at the beginning that they have to be doing more of that work themselves, to be figuring things out, and that not everything is going to be at face value here. But overall, I did like this book, and I'm really glad that Sam wrote it. I think that in the world today, we need less AI slop and more books about people sharing their authentic human experience. And I think what's so ironic about this book is this is a book about a young man trapped in an inauthentic, superficial world. And by writing this in the real world, Sam has made a book that is authentic to him and his life experiences as a young man who, has a lot going for him, and had his start in life kind of derailed by mental illness. And again, that's his words when he talked about this book, when he introduced it on his channel. So for me, I love this book. I had a really good time with it. Strong debut novel for Sam. It's independently published. I don't think you would really notice that unless someone told you. It's got a beautiful, well done wraparound cover. 0 typos. It didn't have the sense of amateur hour about it at all. Excellent, well written, smooth prose. Again, no typos. This is a strong start for Sam, and my hope is that he'll continue to write and that we'll get a sequel to this book or more books from Sam in the future. So, in terms of a rating, just understand that, Sam is my friend, so it's hard for me to be totally objective. I think on my personal channel rating, when I compare Sam's work to the great authors that I often read. I think on my personal channel rating, I'm going to give Sam's book 4 out of 5 stars. But in terms of an Amazon Goodreads rating, it's an easy 5 stars read for me. And I already put a review for 5 stars on Amazon and Goodreads for the book. And I hope you will too, because that's something that Sam's asked for, is get some good reviews for his book, get the word out there. Anyway, that's been a really fun debut review for Sam's first book, Forbidden Anesthesia. Pick it up, please, and support this guy. He's good people. Alright, thanks for watching. Hope you're doing well. Now you get down from this massive log.